You guys kept asking for it, so here it is, the LionBee Developer Kit. So let's go ahead and see what is in the kit when you guys place the order and it arrives to your house. Boom, opened it. So inside the kit, you guys are gonna get the flight controller and the battery holder that's in here. The canopy, and it's also gonna be for your antenna, the antenna holder. And you got the GPS right here, the GPS holder. You're gonna get some props as well. These are GemFam Hurricane 3020 props. We're also gonna get some grommets, more props, your GPS unit, your camera, and this is the BIV2 camera, your Flow 1202 11,420 kV motors, just a perfect kind for this build, and also most importantly, obviously the frame with a bunch of screws that we're going to be using very shortly, and also your battery strap. That's very important. Don't forget that. All right, let's build this puppy. So for this first part of the build, you want to grab your frame and your motors. Let's go ahead and install those. Now before you install these, let me go ahead and give you a little bit of a guide about this frame. So before installing your motors, you want to make sure that you install them correctly. So this is the front right here, this flat side. This is the back side with this little U shape. And very important, these holes right here. Remember, these holes are where your motors go because they're not on the other side. So this is the bottom of the frame and this is the top. So now that you know which one's the front and the right side of the frame, let's go ahead and install the motors. And to install the motors, you're gonna need a 1.5mm hex, and you can grab that from your NewBeeDrone toolkit, available on NewBeeDrone.com. So we got a 1.5 hex right here. Let's get our motors out. These are 1202 11,420 kV motors. So right out of the package, you want to get the motors, and there's screws that come with these motors. Do not use those. You want to make sure that you use the screws that come in the kit. In the kit, you're going to get these M2 4mm screws, and you're going to get 21 of them. So we're not only going to use it for the motors, but for other things as well. So for right now, we're going to be grabbing 2 for each motor, 2, 4, 6, 8. So grab 8 screws. And you're gonna want to put them diagonally as well. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and remember, this is the front and this is the top of your frame. I'm gonna go ahead and put the motors and you want these wires facing obviously towards the center of the frame. And we're gonna put one diagonally across from each other. So not like this, like this. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're gonna put one right here. Remember, motor facing the center of the frame. There you go, there goes one. Don't put it too tight so you're able to move it. And then right across from each other. Boom, number 2. Once you get the second one on there, tighten it a little bit. And now we're gonna do that for all 3 corners. So after installing your motors, now we're gonna go ahead and prepare the camera. So you wanna go ahead and grab the same screws, the canopy, your camera, your ELRS antenna, your VTX antenna, and a zip tie. Let's go ahead and prepare it. So let's go ahead and take our camera, our BIV2 camera out of the package. And you wanna go ahead and grab 2 screws for this camera. And obviously the same screws that we use for the motors, these M2 4mm screws. So grab 2, and let's go ahead and install it. For the canopy, you guys can see these little lightning bolts right here. So that's gonna be the bottom, so make sure those are in the bottom. And then for your camera, you guys can see that the plug is soldered from the bottom. That means that that is your bottom and this is your top. So do not install it like this. You wanna install it like this. So let's just go ahead and put it right through. And then obviously align the holes with the camera. I see it right there. And now let's screw it in. Alright, so there it is. We just finished installing the camera. And now for your antenna. Remember, this is a right-hand polarized. Remember to always check your antennas. It's gonna say on the very top right there, RHCP, right-hand polarized. Make sure that your right-hand polarized antenna matches the same orientation on your goggles. So just make sure they're both right hand. So now for this, you want to go ahead and install it just like this. I'm going to put it through the bottom, feed the wire right here through the top, and then just put it in just like that. And then make sure when you have this installed that your UFL is facing the bottom, because the plug is actually in the bottom of the board. So it's gonna go like that. So this is the top, it's gonna go just like that. Before we even plug it in or install this into your frame, you wanna grab your zip tie, put it through the, actually you wanna bend it, it makes it way easier. Put it right here through the canopy for your antenna to stay put. So you wanna put it through where the antenna stem is at, and then just zip tie it. There we go. Obviously you don't want to zip tie the plug, so don't do that. And then do it nice and tight so that antenna goes nowhere. And then you want to go ahead and cut it. After installing your VTX antenna, now let's go ahead and do our ELRS antenna, which is really, really easy. Same thing, put it through right here. There's going to be holes right there in the front. And then thankfully this is TPU. You can bend the antenna a little bit, bend it back. There we go. Now let's go ahead and install this in our frame. Now that we have the whole front set up, now let's go ahead and install it. But before you do, you want to make sure that you grab the correct screws. These are M2 6mm, and there's 3 of them. So obviously you're going to need 2 to install the front of the canopy, and they're going to go in the bottom. And obviously they're going to be M1.5. And again, this is the front, the flat side. So you want to go ahead and bend your UFL antenna, make sure nothing goes through the frame. And then right here, the holes are right there. There's 1. And now let's do number 2. We are done with the front. Alright, so now let's go ahead and move on to the back for our GPS unit. So let's go ahead and install that. Now, since this is very thin, we're going to be using the same screws again, the M2 4mm screws. We got 21 of those. So you're going to need 2 of those. And then you want to go ahead and grab your screw, and just as simple as it is, screw it from the top. Make sure both sides are good, and there we go. Let's go and move on to our flight controller. The next step is going to be the flight controller, and obviously before you install it, there's a few things you have to do real quick, and that is going to be the grommets. Now the way they go on is there's a short side and a long side to the grommets. So the side with the battery prongs, that's where you want to install the short side. And in the bottom, where all the other circuitry and all these chips, that's where you want to put the long side. Basically, long side goes with the USB Type-C, and short side goes right here with the battery prongs. So after you install those, we're going to go ahead and grab two sets of screws. There's going to be an M2 10mm and an M2 12mm. The 12mm is going to be for the top and the bottom, and the 10mm is going to be for the left and the right. So let's go ahead and install it. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and be installing this flight controller into the frame. So as you guys can see, there's a negative and a positive, and there's also an arrow right here pointing which way is forward. Right before we install the board, you want to go ahead and plug in your ELRS antenna, which is going to be right here in the bottom. It's going to be that small one right there, and then for your VTX antenna, it's going to be that one right there in the corner. Let's go ahead and plug it in real quickly. There you go, that one's plugged in. So VTX antenna is next. There we go. And then now the last thing is going to be the camera, which is going to be right there in the corner as well. There we go. Alright, everything's plugged in. Let's go ahead and install our GPS. And for that, we're going to be using the NewBeeDrone M10Q Micro GPS module with compass. So let's go ahead, take it out of the package. We're not going to need this wire because it already comes with a plug. So our plug goes right behind the Type-C connector. There we go. And then now, all we have to do is put it right here in the back, put it through this hole, and there we go. We should be set just like that. All right, now let's go ahead and screw in the sides. And for that, you want to be grabbing your M2 10mm screws. The 12s are going to be for the front and the back, but we don't install those yet. We're going to do this towards the very end. There's one. Nice and tight, not too tight because you want those grommets to be useful. There you go. You guys can see it, I didn't put it that tight. Okay, let's go ahead and install the GPS real quick since we have it right here. Plug it in right here in the back. So as you guys can see right here, there is a NewBeeDrone logo, and then there is a side that says micro, it says M10Q micro. So obviously the side with the NewBeeDrone logo is the side with the antenna. So you want to make sure you point that up. Just want to basically squish it in there, just like so. Alright, cool, our GPS is installed. Let's go ahead and do the final steps, and that's going to be soldering the motors to the flight controller. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and solder these motors to the flight controller. And they're actually be not too bad because they're pretty fat pads on there. So how I would like to do it is just cut the end off already, and then just twist the wire, and then spread them out to make it look nice. Lay them flat right here on the arm, and then once you do that, you want to go ahead and start measuring to see how much you're really going to need. And I'm going to be cutting right here, and right here. Now we can go ahead and strip it. And obviously you want to go ahead and add a little bit of flux, and this is from the NewBeeDrone toolkit. So add a little bit right there on the pad, on all three. Let's go ahead and do it for all of them as well. And the cool thing is this board numbers out the motors, which is really cool. I don't think I've seen that before yet. Let's add some flux on the motor wires. There we go. We're gonna tin the pad real quick, just like that. Not too much, but not too little as well. So now that we tin one, you want to go ahead and do that with all three other sides. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and tin the tip of these wires. And again, make sure you have proper ventilation when you're soldering. You don't want to be breathing in these poisonous fumes like us. Here's one, number two, and then number three right there. Nice. So now that we have done all three, we're gonna go ahead and tape it up right here. And then obviously we're gonna repeat the same process for all other three sides. And the cool thing is that NewBeeDrone included tape in this kit. So NewBeeDrone includes this cloth electrical tape in our kit. What I would do is I would put the motor wire right here on one side of the arm. Either side can work. Obviously I'm gonna be using that side. Put it on one side of the other arm, just like that. And then the cool thing about this tape is that it never gets loose once you put it on. So be really tight with it, and do it nice like that, and it sticks to itself really, really well. And just like that, boom, our motor wire is going to be safe. So now let's go ahead and do that for all three other motors. After soldering, as you guys can see, there is a little bit of flux left over, that little layer. So let's go ahead and clean it off. What you want to do is grab a toothbrush, grab 99% isopropyl alcohol, spray the toothbrush, and then just go ahead and flake off all of that flux. You don't want to spread it, you want to flake it off, just like that. All four sides that we soldered. And look at that, clean, shiny solders right there with no flux. After that, let's complete the final steps. All right, so now we're in the last step so we can plug in our battery. So what you're gonna need is your battery holder, your battery strap, and also those M2 12mm screws that I mentioned earlier. And they're gonna go in the front and the back. A cool thing about this battery holder compared to our last revision is that these pins right here where your battery connects, they're integrated. So if you were to break the drone, for example, in a crash, you basically had to solder new ones and desolder them from the board. But now, the cool thing is, let's say I'm flying and I break it. The cool thing is that NewBeeDrone provides two of these. So let's say I cracked it, or I crashed upside down and this part breaks. Don't worry, all you have to do is remove those two screws where we're gonna install it from. Remove it, get the second one that NewBeeDrone provided. Then you wanna go ahead and just grab your battery strap. There's a fuzzy side and a textured side. The fuzzy side is going to go down just like that. Then all you have to do is kind of push this forward a bit, slide that pin in, and just like that, you want to go ahead and install those 2 screws, one in the front right there, and then one in the back. And of course, you want to grab your 1.5 millimeter. Just put that screw right through there. And that's why we have longer screws in the front and the back, because I have to go through that plastic. I have to go through the 3-year print battery holder compared to the 10 millimeters there on the side. So as you're screwing it in, one thing you want to keep an eye out for is you don't want to go too tight and make sure that screw goes over. So you want to keep it flush just like that. You don't want to go over, because then obviously it's just going to cause problems later down the road. So just like that, there's one. Same thing now in the front, and just screw it, of course, until it's flush with the bottom of the frame. And now, as you guys can see, we are done. This is our brand new LionBee developer kit. Here she is. So beautiful. Now let's go ahead, plug in a battery. So the cool thing about this drone that I have not really seen in other drones is, so here's a positive and here's a negative. Here's a positive and the negative. Let's say you plug it in reversed. Oh no, magic smoke doesn't exist anymore. We have reverse plug-in protection, so that doesn't have to exist anymore. So all you have to do now is grab your battery, plug it in the correct way, and there we go. Obviously, right before we fly, grab your battery strap and strap it down. Now, we're not ready to fly just yet. Let's go ahead and go into the software to make sure these motors are spinning correctly. Then we can install the props and take off. Alright, so now that we're here in beta flight, now we're going to go ahead and click connect. And remember, the USB is in the bottom of the drone. Now, after you have plugged in your battery as well, you want to go ahead and go to motors. And you want to make sure that it's props out. And then you want to go ahead and check I understand the risk. Make sure your propellers are off for this process. And you want to spin all of them. As I'm feeling them right now, they all feel good, but motor 2 is actually spinning the wrong way. So what we're going to do is slide the master down, stop motors, go to motor direction. I understand again. We're going to go to individually. And then obviously motor 2, click on it. Let me go ahead and click normal. It feels wrong. So now we're going to go ahead and reverse it. You're going to want to click and hold it. Now it's spinning the correct way, and it should have saved that. So once you have checked your motors, that's honestly all you really have to do. Now, the cool thing about this developer kit is that it comes with everything already adjusted, but obviously every transmitter is different. So you want to click on modes and just make sure, go through everything, make sure that your arm, your angle, your horizon, and also very important that your GPS rescue is set up. So if you don't have it set up, all you have to do is click on it. You want to click add range, and then you want to go ahead and do it to whatever switch you feel comfortable with in your transmitter. So after you have done that, you want to go ahead and click save, and you should be good to go. Now it is the last final step. Everything's configured, motors are spinning correctly, everything's good. Obviously magic smoke doesn't exist anymore. All you have to do now is grab your propellers that are included in the kit. And remember, we are doing props out. So you want to go ahead and grab your prop. Make sure you grab the one that's the correct one, and then just install them. Make sure there's 3 holes. You want to make sure that you use the middle one. You're gonna hear it going in. So when you put it in, just go ahead, push it in with your thumb. There you go. Got one click. And this one I kind of did it. And then same thing. Repeat the process for the last few props. And then now we're ready to fly. Now, as you guys can see, we just finished installing the propellers. Now, I'm pretty sure some of you are going to point out there's 2 other holes. Why don't you screw it in? Well, this drone is super light, and the pin of the motor actually fits very, very tight on these props. It will not come loose. Even if I try right now my hardest, it's not going to come out. So, don't worry, you do not have to install those. This drone is light enough, and the pin in the motor that holds the prop is very, very tight. It's friction fit, and it fits perfect. So you don't have to worry about that. You do not have to install that. Now, before we go ahead and fly, I'm gonna go ahead and let the developer behind this talk about why this is so special. So let's go ahead and bring in the big boss.
What's up, guys? This is Calvin. I'm going to talk about this LionBee. There's a lot of new stuff coming from this flight controller. The first things will be the 32-bit ESC in this flight controller. I think this is probably the first one all-in-one board that is one as battery support and comes with a 32-bit chipset for the ESC, and it's preloaded with AM32. We call this a developer kit because it's not a perfect firmware on this drone yet. I mean, it works, but we still want to spend more time and then helping to get the firmware works better and better on the ESC. So this is why we call it a developer kit. It's the first one with the AM32 at 1S. We are only doing one side SMT, so you can see the space is actually very tight. We want to fit in the VTX with an amplifier, and this is actually can go up to 800 milliwatt for long range, and it comes with a smart control for the temperature. When the temperature goes up, it automatically tunes down the AP power so it can protect the board. At the same time, when you get to the air, the temperature goes down, the VTX power will bump up so you get more range from the VTX. And then because we have limited space for everything to squeeze in, we have to use SPI receiver, and then it's also using Artery-Tech 32 chipset for the main MCU, and it's as I remember is the F435. Basically it's 288 megahertz, so it's pretty fast. It's even faster than a F722. The other things is the BEC on this product. It can go down to 1.8 volt, way beyond the 18650 battery that can output consistent output power voltage range. I remember 18650 battery like this one, the Nitro Nectar Gold. This is the tablets with the high current, high C rating spec. This one can drop down to 2.2 volt, and then this is 1.8 supported, so it's way beyond the low voltage that the 18650 can provide. And it's a full stack. It comes with everything. The GPS module, it also have a compass, so everything comes with it will be preset, ready to fly. You only have to set up the mode and then make sure the motor rotations like Caesar provided previously. You can also play with the PID tuning because this flight controller comes with an internal flash, so you can use it for experiment, learn how to do PID tuning. Okay, that will be all for this video, and then hope you enjoy it. Remember to hit like and subscribe. Also remember, fly safe, check your airspace before you take off. Have a good day.